This is the cash flow system. Now, what I want to do is share something with you here that just came through to my email box, to my inbox. I'm going to go ahead and pull this thing up for you, and then what we're going to do is take a moment, and I'm going to walk you through, now that we've identified how to determine certain values under the 5 things that we must need to know. What I'm going to do is walk you through the property information process of taking the info, putting it on the right form, and submitting the right form, and then that way it will move forward to get the deal done for you. So here we go. I want to share something quick with you here. This is something that that came into my inbox. I thought it was interesting. It says, "Bring all offers." Bring all offers. And this is down. It says gallery space, Midtown Miami, entire city block, and then showroom, retail. It says serious seller ready to sell now. Significant portfolio in the heart of the Windward District. 4 properties, 4.5 acres of land with over 42,000 square feet. Total building area includes major parcel across from Midtown Miami and the entire city block. Great deal on an entire portfolio, or buy these prime properties separately from $1 million plus. All right? Who thinks that these are going to be retail? Who thinks these might be wholesale? Okay? You don't know until we call. That's the way this is done, okay? You don't know until you call, so it's hard to assume, but I'll tell you, I know this brokerage. I know the properties that come through from this brokerage, and I've called on several of them in the past. And when something comes through where it says serious seller ready to sell now, sure they are. Sure. They're ready to sell now for the right price. So everything is negotiable. Particular deal like this, I know for a fact that I'm going to end up calling and just getting somebody in their brokerage firm that's going to answer the phone, and I'm going to ask them the questions, and it's going to be a process that we go through to find out if it's a deal, and then we need to take it to the next level. And the next level that we need to take it to is to verify the facts by getting the seller on the phone. Now, one thing is that it says here, it says you can purchase these separately or you can purchase the whole portfolio. My first question is this portfolio held by one individual or by one entity? Write that down. I'll tell you why it's important. If it's held by one individual, that means that you're dealing with one person. If it's held by one entity, you need to know how many partners are in that entity. If it's a holding company, chances are it's got to go through board review. And if it is a separate portfolio owned by separate people under their brokerage firm for that portfolio, and they're trying to do an assemblage of property for their portfolio, well, you getting in touch with each and every single one of these sellers is not going to be the best use of your time. So the way that we would approach a particular deal like this is to get the broker on the phone who's managing the portfolio. Getting the seller on the phone, which we're going to discuss later, is the key that unlocks the vault to get the right answers and to find out if they're motivated or not. But what we want to do is find out which broker is holding this portfolio. And then what we can do, guys, the next step is just to educate that broker and say, look, here's our acquisition criteria. This is the way we buy. This is how we want to go ahead and structure the terms. These are the terms needed to get the project done. And once you walk them through the process and educate them to the point they can go back to each one of these buyers and say, or excuse me, sellers, and say, I have a buyer under these terms. And by the way, that's one little phrase of verbiage you should write down. I'm a buyer at these terms. You're always a buyer. Look, are you a buyer for $1? Yeah, as long as you want the property. If you're a buyer for $1, you're a buyer for 100 million or $1 billion. It's totally irrelevant in my world, because if you're structuring the right terms, bringing in the money is a mute subject. It's a non-issue. So as long as we're structuring the right terms, we're always a buyer under these terms. So that way you're not doing any kind of misrepresentation. You're moving forward and you're making it happen. So this is food for thought. You can see these motivated deals, they're not just out there where you have to go drum them up. This came to my inbox, and it just came in. And it said this in the subject line: bring all offers. All right? Bring all offers. That means bring anything and anything you possibly can, right? You're a broker. When you put in bring all offers, do you want to go ahead and get some bites on this property because stuff isn't moving? Make it happen, right? Make it happen. Oh yeah, need food on the plate. Okay. These deals come to you once you go ahead and let it be known that you're out in the marketplace looking for deals, right? The We Buy Houses signs on the side of the car, people call you. Get the message out to the marketplace. I simply did it by having my bird dogs shoot out my criteria with this email address to certain brokerage firms that I knew play with large portfolios. And this company here is a small group that only deals with portfolios like this. It's like one, two, three, four, five, maybe 6, 7 properties in here. You can pick each one up for $1 million, a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. All right? So get the message out, and the deals will come. All right? Now, go ahead and bring this up here now. This right here. Turn this down. What we're going to do is just walk you through the new system. Now, each and every one of you will get a copy of this. All right? There's one for each of the properties. Watch my fun little slideshow there while I'm getting ready. There's the results. Okay. Now what we're going to do here is, this is actually going to be, you don't need to write down the URL. Don't worry about the URL. That's the web address. Don't worry about it. I'm going to go ahead and plug you guys into this. Everybody here watching these DVDs or these audios, everybody gets plugged into this system. So it's going to be a different URL anyway. So if you're going to jot it down, it's going to change. So don't worry. All right? You'll get it. So what we're going to do here is come right down, and these are the forms. You're going to see there's forms here for you, and what we're going to do is view form. Once you view form, it's going to go ahead and bring up this information for you. And it's going to say instruction, please complete the form below. Remember, fields marked with a little orange asterisk, okay, are required. I did this so you guys are required to put the information down. So in the back of your book here, you actually have property pre-screening sheets here. And these property pre-screening sheets at the back of your book, you can look at the one for mobile home park. It's on page 166. These are for you to go ahead and review so you know exactly what they look like. But what I've done is I've taken it to another level. See, if you have control to write down certain information here and put the info down and choose to leave certain fields out and submit the deals, then what we have is incomplete data. And since we have incomplete data, it's going to be difficult to move forward and get the deal done. Look, if you guys leave out any one of the 5, can we go ahead and know whether we're going to make an offer on the deal or not? Of course not. Of course not. So I've made it effortless for you. So now what you can do is get in here, put in your information here. First name, last name, your phone, your cell, your fax number, email. Then it says, please give us as much of your contact information as you can. The more we have, the easier it'll be for us to contact you, especially in the time of critical projects. Understand something a long time ago, guys. You can't steal in slow motion. And if it's a hiccup because you don't have a dedicated phone that we can reach you on when we're ready to move forward on a deal, we say, look, this looks like a great deal. You might not realize, but the information that you put in there, it could have an indication to us. Just hold the questions for me for a moment. It could have an indicator in there, an indication that this seller is motivated to move forward. Like you could put information in there and just might not realize it, where it would say, when does this note balloon? And then you put a date. And you put that date, but you might not realize it. And we see that that date's coming up rather quickly. Like if we're sitting in January and the note's going to become due in February, we know that we need to move quick. And if you're not going to have a number for us to get back to you at, the seller might be so motivated that they could go ahead and deal with somebody else to get the deal done. And I've seen that happen. So make sure that you put a dedicated number. Now, next is property information. Please provide information about target property, building, asset. Please provide as much of this data as possible. Ask about seller information. It doesn't hurt to ask. Guys, always ask, okay? Now, I've tried to make this as mouse click friendly as possible. This day and age, typing, even if you're pecking, you can still get it done. You should get used to the computer if you're not on the computer all the time anyway. I'm sure some of you, she's been writing a book here. Really fast, I'm watching her. I'm just as quick. You can get quick on the computer. It's just putting in information. I made it as mouse click easy as possible for you. And this one right here will list your state that the property's in, right here. And obviously we need additional information like zip code and county, or country. And the reason why we need stuff like zip code is because we do a Google search and we want to see aerials. We want to know where the property is located. And when we get into the finding session, I'm going to share some information with you when you can get off something called offline. That means that you don't have to have internet access. It's offline software, and it's very cheap. We're talking like 20, 30 bucks. You can pick it up just about anywhere. I'm going to share the information of why it's so powerful when you're talking to brokers or sellers, or you can show your bird dogs to do the same thing on why it's so very powerful, and it gives you instant credibility to any area across the nation. Would you guys like to know just about each and every street in each and every area and be able to get, if somebody says my property is at 1234 Main Street in such and such town in such and such state, would you like to get right to it and say, oh, that's right down the street from such and such area? Would you guys like to know that information quickly? Huge. This is huge, okay? I figured this one out a long time ago. I'm going to give that to you. It's very powerful, okay? It'll definitely give you a huge bump when it comes to people knowing, well, are you familiar with the area? Now all of a sudden you are, because you can say, oh yeah, that's right down the street from such and such park, Lincoln Memorial Park. And they go, oh yeah, exactly, it's about 3 blocks. Oh yeah, I know, and it's on such and it's right over by such and such boulevard. You can see the major, it holds all the infrastructure of the U.S. on this data. Okay, I'm going to clue you guys in. All right. If intersection, what quadrant, parcel number, if applicable, also seller's name. You can see some of this information does not have, right here in the seller information, it does not have asterisks there, so it's not mandatory. The reason why I left it not mandatory to put that in is because every so often, one of you or two of you will say to me, I want to make sure that if I submit the deal's mine. You guys got to understand, it's not only just a credibility thing, but I don't want or need your deal, okay? I got enough deals coming through the pipeline. If we do a deal together, then we're both equally privileged to do the deal together, all right? My acquisition team would never in a million years, nor would I, ever look at a deal and ever try it. It's called circumvent. That's not what we're doing here, folks. Relationships are worth more than money. I do not have greed glands, all right? And my partners like Kevin, they understand that as well. We're here to get deals done. This is real life. We're here processing information to get it done. Don't be one of those type of people, and healthy skepticism is great, but don't be one of those type of people that don't want to submit a deal because you think for some reason I'm going to take your deal or something crazy. That's not this business. I would be gone if that was this business. Never have, never would, never want to. It's not what it's about. The deal remains your deal. And non-circumvent, non-disclosure agreements are something that brokers and sellers will sign when you're looking to buy and sell. Okay, and sometimes they'll have you sign them. We're going to talk about that later. But for me, understand that once you're in the family you're in, we're moving forward together to get the deals done. Okay. Now next here is the property listed. Why do you think that's going to be important? That's just mouse click. That's going to be very important. We want to know if the property's listed or not. All right? Because if the property's listed, that will tell us if there's been certain amount of pre-contract due diligence done by the broker, right? Because if the broker has the listing, then the broker did the work to know what the broker's going to sell. All right? It's very important. Very rarely will you ever see somebody selling something when they don't know what they're selling. Okay? You need to know the ins and outs. Realtor's name, realtor's phone. The reason why we need the realtor and it's very mandatory that we get the realtor, is because we want to be able, if we're going to move forward on the deal, we want to be able to verify facts quickly, and then we want to be able to get the seller on the phone quickly. So another reason why we left the seller form without asterisks, meaning mandatory, is because sometimes you're not going to get the seller's information. The broker's going to say no. They're going to say, no way. I'm not giving you the seller's information. No, you go through me. I'm the broker. I'm the guy or gal who's the power tripper. And we're going to talk about getting the seller on the phone, because I deflate that, and I love doing it. And I love getting the seller on the phone when the broker just needs a little extra hand-holding to get the seller on the phone. And there's a very unique strategy to that, and you guys are going to learn that. All right? Now, next is the asking. Okay, now here's where we're going to get where it gets a little bit more important for me and for you guys in doing a good service for you. The asking price is important. If you forget, I got it handled. It's a bubble. It'll tell you current price the seller wants. Okay? Defines it for you. Next one is going to be the total square foot. If in acres, use this formula. Number of acres, 43,560. Okay? Asking price per square foot, asking price total square feet. How asking price was determined. Please elaborate where and why this is the price. Example, i.e., example. Shot in the dark, real estate agent, sell it, tax evaluation, etc. How was the property determined? What's the determination? How was the asking price determined? How did you get to that price? And I just asked the seller straight out, guys. I asked him, I said, how'd you get to that asking price? How did you determine the asking price for this property? Well, that's just what I'm asking. Yeah, I understand, but do you know what the property's worth? I mean, we could pick up another building right down the street that's got more occupancy than your building, and it needs less work, and we could pick it up for $1.5 million less than what you're asking. Do you understand that? Yeah, but my property is going to be worth so much more because it has more units. Well, that's great. But why would we want to buy for future value? We buy as is, where is. Okay? Seller's motivation. Seller's motivation. Why is the seller selling? Needs funds. Right? Divorce, feuding partners. Love feuding partners. Right? That's why we have partnership agreements. We know who does what. We have clarity to our relationship. All right? More business relationships and personal relationships fall apart because there isn't clarity to who does what in the relationship. You don't need a signed agreement in a personal relationship, but you have to have a meeting of the minds. You need to know who does what, when, who's working, who's staying at home, who's watching the kids, who's making it happen. Right? And then there's respect. Now, the thing about here is we need to probe around. We need to go ahead and poke and say, okay, why are you selling? What do you need the money for? Let me ask you, how much cash do you need now? If you can go ahead and allow us a little bit of time to buy you out, for you to give us some seller financing, how much cash do you need? The seller might say, I need $250,000. Okay? You need $250,000? You need all that money right up front? Okay? When do you need it by? I need it right away. And believe me, people love to talk. I need it right away because my wife caught, my daughter caught her husband and doing this and doing that, and now next thing you know, they're broken up, and I got to buy a house, and I need 10% down payment to do this, to do that. There could be all kinds of different issues. And then you say, well, what's the least that you can make this happen? Well, I guess I could take 100 now and another 150 in 180 days or 6 months. So just probing will find out exactly what's going on, all right? Number of total units. This is important. If it's a building, how many units are there? Okay? And if it's going to be for mixed units, please elaborate. Elaborate on that for us, okay? For mixed use, for mixed use. Okay? For mixed use, please elaborate. Asking price per unit. That's the total units. Number of rentable units. Units ready for rent. They need repairs or other issues preventing them from being rentable immediately. Okay? Now, when it comes to this, guys, you got to understand that some of the units that you look at are going to be good. You want to make sure that you have some specialty verbiage in your clause just in case you walk into one unit and that particular unit looks good And then all of a sudden, you didn't look at the rest of the units, and there's that shag carpet, that maroon shag carpet with speckles in it. The appliances are like avocado, and you got the microwave that's like this big, it's like a tank, and it's got that dial that's like this big where everybody, remember in the 70s where you'd turn it on to cook your pop-ups or whatever you'd cook, and you'd turn it on and you run out of the room because you don't want the radiation to get you? Yeah, that's my era too. I remember. You want to make sure that all the units look the same. If one's got stainless appliances, all the rest have to have stainless appliances. If one has those nice fancy bamboo, all the rest have to have the bamboo flooring. Okay? It's got to be the same. I'm going to share that with you when we get to contracts, okay? You'll get the verbiage.